prayer. Yeah, you'll fill it. Two.
Everybody, please rise so we salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, justice for all. Thank you, everyone.
Do a roll call, Bill. I'll do the roll, okay?
Roll call, please.
Counsel Leahy. Counsel Mercier.
Here.
Counsel Milonazo.
Here.
Counsel Noon.
Here.
Mayor Samaras.
Here.
Counsel Cirillo. Counsel Conway.
Here.
Counsel Elliott.
Here.
Counsel Kennedy. 6 present.
Thank you. It's quite a traffic night, but we're going to begin. We have 3 candidates for tonight. The suggestion was that we'd ask the candidate to give a 2-minute opening remarks. Each city council would have 1 question, but if they felt that they had a necessary follow-up, please have the follow-up, and then give the candidates a concluding 1-minute statement to bring closure. That meet it with everybody's approval? Okay. Mary, do you want to bring the candidate forward?
Yeah.
Testing.
Yeah, just as it was a roll.
Mr. Clerk, will you please give the order? That will follow.
Okay, I think the candidate would open up with a brief statement if she wishes, and then Counsel Leahy would start, and then we'd go right to Counsel Mercier if Counsel Leahy's not present.
Okay. First of all, Ms. McSwiggan, welcome back to this interview process. You've been through this before, but we're going to allow you up to 2 minutes to give an opening statement. And then, as the clerk said, we'll follow then with questions, okay?
Sure. Thank you all very much for having me back here. I guess I'll start with addressing the elephant in the room, which is why am I back here after previously withdrawing my application. And I'd like to just explain that previously it was a timing issue primarily. There was some uncertainty as to the timing when my husband was exiting the military. And taking this position, knowing that you all were trying to fill this position as soon as possible, it would have meant months without my husband and separating my family, and it was just too challenging at the time. So had decided to withdraw my application. But with the position still vacant, I am ready and willing to jump in with 2 feet and give it my all if the timing works out this time and if selected. I'll also run through my experience as I previously did in the last round of interviews. So I graduated from Assumption College with a bachelor's degree in accounting. My first job was in public accounting as an auditor for a regional firm out of Boston called Wolf & Company. During my time there, I earned my CPA license as well as my master's degree in accounting from Northeastern. I was exposed to a variety of industries, clients, personality types, and towards the end of my time at Wolf, I was promoted to senior auditor. After my time at Wolf, I went to work for Tufts Medical Center as a senior accountant. Some of my responsibilities there included being the point person for the audit, so the main liaison between the hospital and our external auditors. I also was responsible for preparation of the 990 nonprofit tax return and presenting that to the CEO of the hospital on an annual basis. I also prepared monthly balance sheet reconciliations and reviews, prepared notes to the financial statements, and prepared a monthly trend analysis that was presented to upper management. After my time at Tufts, my husband joined the military and we moved down to Texas. We were stationed at Fort Hood and we lived in a town called Georgetown, Texas. And I landed a job there working for the city of Georgetown. So it was then that I was introduced to municipal government and fell in love with it. I was exposed to many new nuances of the industry that was all new to me at the time, but gained really valuable experience during my time there. I got to be heavily involved in the budget process, in the issuance of municipal debt for the city. I was involved in the setting of the tax rate. So some really valuable experience. And then we ended up moving again with the military up to New York, and at that time I took my current job as a customer ally for a virtual CPA firm called Blummer and Associates. So with them I have a portfolio of clients where I do monthly financial statement reviews with my clients, tax returns on an annual basis, both for the corporations and for the individuals, and provide consulting services to my clients. But it is my desire to get back into the world of municipal government, and with strong family ties in the city of Lowell, I am really excited for this opportunity, and thank you all for having me back here. Thank you.
Council Mercia.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you again, Kara. And we did interview you the first time, and so I do know a lot about you, so I'm not going to ask those same questions. It would be redundant. But I see here from your resume that you worked for the city of Georgetown, Texas, so you did work in city government. And when you work in city government, the city budget may appear to grow yearly. It often seems as though we are constantly asking the city manager, the city auditor, and the city clerk to do more with less. While that may often seem difficult to do, many have pointed to leveraging technology to do so. Can you tell us about what technology improvements you have implemented while you worked, or did you, if you did, in Georgetown, Texas, and how they may have helped increase productivity and efficiency while reducing waste and increasing accountability? Can you give me an idea about that? Sure.
During my time at Georgetown, we found many areas where there were room for efficiencies, especially using technology. There were a lot of paper records that were kept. In some instances it's necessary, but in many other instances there are ways to move records to an electronic source, Excel for instance, and it creates a lot of efficiencies by creating formulas within those worksheets that will automatically populate data as opposed to spending countless hours plugging away and typing into a manual calculator. So in many instances, transferring between paper records and Excel or other technology documents on the computer, there were many ways that we found efficiencies in that manner.
Well, this is still part of that question. So in doing what you just said, that would be how you would streamline and modernize tasks here in the city of Lowell, should you get this position?
Yes, absolutely. I'm proficient in Excel. I actually really enjoy working in the program and creating formulas and pivot tables and databases. So that's definitely one step that I would take towards creating efficiencies.
I know we're only allowed one question, but I'm concerned about if you get this position and we needed you soon, how soon would you be able to start? Do you have any idea?
Mid-December.
Mid-December? Thank you.
Good evening, Karen. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
Let me begin by thanking you for really balancing the position as well as the family obligations. So I know you were put under a lot of stress, but speaking for myself, happy that you're still interested in the position and interested in working for the city. Last time we talked, I had mentioned to you that Powers and Sullivan comes in and they do our independent audit, and they came in June and looked at the June 30th, 2018 numbers, and we still unfortunately had a number of outstanding items, everything from cash reconciliation procedures. I'm just going to go through the list quickly. Purchase order dates, late invoices, and school grant management. In fact, I'm sure you'll hear later, we had some issues with our school department again this year. How would you go about making sure that those half a dozen issues that remain outstanding over 2 fiscal years get resolved?
I think first step, all hands on deck, you would need to create a list of what's outstanding, what needs to be accomplished, and the timeline within which that needs to be accomplished, and assign tasks to everyone that is willing and able to help accomplish that goal. And, check things off as you go, plug away at it, but really all hands on deck team effort to accomplishing that goal.
Okay, thank you. Just one quick final question. As you probably know, the government accounting standards keep changing every year, and I know there are a couple of changes in 2018. There's more changes this year in 2019, changes coming up in 2020, 2021. Mm-hmm. How will you stay on top of those GASB changes going forward?
I think a great starting point is the Massachusetts Government Finance Office puts on many trainings throughout the year. There was a Texas equivalent when I was down there, and it's really a tight-knit community within government finance, and I found that there were really people willing to share information and knowledge, so I think that would be a great starting point.
Great, thank you. Thank
Sure.
you again.
Thank you. Welcome back, Kara.
Thank you.
So we see that you have both private and public or municipal experience. How do you incorporate those experience with the work required here in the city of Lowell? And what would you do in your 60-day, or what would your 60-day involve?
I think my experience has made me a really well-rounded professional. I mentioned my start in public accounting and being exposed to many different management styles, personalities, industries has really made me well-rounded and gave me a really solid foundation for my accounting knowledge and my auditing knowledge. And specifically working in municipal government itself, there's no comparison. It's really important, and it's really specific knowledge, with fund accounting and with all of the regulations around expenditures and cash. And I think it's really important to have that expertise and that level of knowledge. As far as my first 60 days here, I think it's really important to put faces to names, really get to know people, get to know my staff, the departments, and really just get a solid understanding of how the city works and identify areas that maybe could be improved upon, and start there. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome back. My question is, as the auditor, you really have the responsibility to ensure that all departments follow local ordinances, state regulations, and federal. But sometimes you might have a department head that either may not know what they're really truly responsible for, or maybe will say in opposition to dealing with what should happen. It's very important. So as an auditor, That's, I think, one of the hardest parts of your role, to make sure that everybody performs the way they should and protects the money, the city's money, the way they should. So what steps would you take if somebody that is not knowledgeable enough or is, we'll say, a little stubborn about listening?
I think first, setting up a training with all department heads to make sure everyone's well informed of their responsibilities. So, there's no guessing as to what the rules are and what everyone should be doing. That's the first step. If somebody is still being stubborn, I think it just needs to be directly addressed. I certainly wouldn't go out looking for conflict, but if a tough conversation needs to take place, I have no trouble with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Carol. Welcome back.
Thank you.
How do you see your role in our government's organization here in Lowell, especially with the city manager's office? An example could be a teammate, an advisor, an overseer, or perhaps something else. Could you explain your answer on that?
The first thing that comes to mind is a financial gatekeeper of sorts, to sort of be the last check and balance to make sure everything is in order. And I also think it's really important that this role keeps you all, as the city council, well informed. So definitely a gatekeeper and, another set of eyes that's always checking that everything is the way it should be.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
One of the bullets in the job description is to direct investigations of irregularities in accounts, inadequacies in accounting systems. Can you give me an example of two of, in your experience, how you would address this particular responsibility?
Sure. I have extensive experience doing trend analysis, so I think something that's really important, at least on a monthly basis, is to look at fluctuations year over year, month over month, budget to actual, and anything that jumps out or appears irregular, to dig further into the detail. So whether it be, there's a significant increase in expenditures in a certain line item, drilling down into the detail of that, pulling the actual journal entries or the substantive detail behind it to understand the reason for that. And most of the time there's an explanation, but just always knowing the explanation behind any significant fluctuations.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Kara.
Hello.
The city auditor, in addition to being the city auditor, also manages a whole department of people. And I realized that when you were in Texas, in that audit, you were the senior accountant there, so that you were not the city auditor in Georgetown, Texas. But could you tell me how many people worked in that department, and is there an example of when you managed a group or a team of people, whether it be short-term or long-term?
Sure. So the accounting department in Georgetown during my time there consisted of one staff accountant, 2 senior accountants, a payroll specialist, and a controller and a finance director. So I was one of the 2 senior accountants there at the time. I did not directly supervise anyone while I was there, but I do have other experience with supervising employees. As a senior auditor at Wolf & Company, I had a staff of accountants that I would oversee on our audits. And so my experience in Georgetown, I also wanted to point out, though I was a senior accountant, I gained a lot of exposure to areas that senior accountants typically don't, and that's because we had a lot of turnover of, so our finance director and our controller turned over during my time there, and I actually stepped up and asked to take on some additional responsibility to help out during that time. So I was involved in the issuance of municipal debt, which normally the senior accountant doesn't take that on. And I was also in charge of responding to public information requests, which was a new responsibility for me at that time as well. So though I was a senior accountant and wasn't directly managing anyone, my experience there was really kind of a high visibility role for a senior accountant.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Council Leahy.
Thank you for coming in. Actually, a lot of my questions were answered by some of the councilors, so thanks for coming back in, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. You have a minute to give sometimes you're looking for a certain type of question, and you might want to answer that question, or you just want to, bring closure to the meeting, so.
Sure. And one thing that I just want to emphasize, and that I tried to emphasize the last time I was here, is that I am really excited to put down roots in Lowell and to serve in a position that I can see myself in long term. And this position really is a place that I can see myself long term. My previously withdrawing my application was purely a family and timing issue and has nothing to do with my interest in the position and my excitement for this position and my willingness to serve the city of Lowell. So thank you all so much for considering my application once again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All set.
We're going to go the same order, Bill?
Yeah.
Same order.
Why not?
Johnny will start.
The next candidate. This is the next candidate.
All right.
I'll follow you.
Ms. Masiello, welcome. My name is Bill Samaras. I'm the mayor of the city of Lowell. I'd like to have everybody introduce themselves to you. Next to me is
Dave Conway.
Hi, Dave.
Rodney Elliott.
Hi, Rodney. Hi, Edward.
Rita Mercia.
Hi, Rita.
Hi, John Leahy.
Hi, John.
Welcome.
Jim Milanazzo.
Hi, Jim.
Vesna Noor.
Hi, Vesna.
Well, again, welcome. As a candidate, what we ask of the candidate is you can give up to 2-minute introduction of who you are. We have your biography, but the thing is, as a candidate, you might want to emphasize something else. Each council will ask you one question, but if they want to have a follow-up question, it's at their discretion. And then we'll allow you a minute to bring closure to the meeting. So with that, please introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Tina Masiello, and I'm currently a CPA and work as an accounting manager for UMass Medical School in Worcester, Massachusetts. I currently reside in Worcester, Massachusetts. I've lived in Massachusetts almost my entire life. I come from a military family. We did a lot of moving when I was younger, but since I've been about 5 years old, we've lived in or near Worcester, Massachusetts. I'm familiar with Lowell. I actually had to do a lot of work in Lowell when I worked with the Department of Revenue. We did a lot of tobacco enforcement out here and a lot of tax filing enforcement. With that being said, I know that I'm not from the city of Lowell, but I do have a great respect for the city of Lowell, with the UMass campus being here as well. They've done great work with the community here. I'm, like I said, a CPA. My heart is in auditing, and that's what really drew me to this position. I love auditing, I love tax work as well, but my heart really is in the audit world. I think I can really bring a new set of eyes to your books of record, to your departments here, and anything else that you would like to be looked at. I do have the investigative work as well as financial reporting with FASB and GASB as well. I look forward to this interview. This is definitely a different style of interview that I'm used to, but I'm very excited for it. I love having the microphone. This is nice. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you, Tina, for coming in. I apologize, got here late, so I don't know everybody's questions, but could you just give me just explain why this job interests you? And I know you gave some of that in your opening statement, but you know, what drew you to this position, and what leadership skills can you bring?
So what drew me to the position definitely was the audit work. In my current role right now, I'm the accounting manager. I manage a staff of about 8. Like I said, I love accounting. I love the record keeping, journal entries, looking into the trend analysis, looking into the month-to-month and things like that. But my heart is in auditing and figuring out why things are happening the way that they're happening. And not only why, but how can we fix these things? I did read in your financial reports that you did have a write-up on the education and some things with the budget, and that really interested me. I really wanted to look into that and see where I could help with that sort of thing. Maybe offer up some of my expertise, some of the things that I've done before. I managed a department, I said before, I managed a department of 8, but we work with about $250 million in revenue is my department. And each unit within my department has the responsibility of reporting on their set of financial statements. And my job is to figure out why they're not doing the way that they should be doing with budget to actual. And I think that can really help in this position right now.
Thank you very much. And also, I don't know, did they explain that you're required to come Tuesday nights?
They did not explain that, but I did see that, and that's okay.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Tina. My name is Rita Mercier. I'm very honored to meet you.
Honored as well.
I went over your resume. I'm very, very impressed with it.
Thank you.
You did say that you're proficient with the GAP and the GASB. That's very impressive. Over 10 years combined accounting, supervisory experience, and audit work. I'm very impressed with that. Created and reconciled the balance sheet with assets over $340 million. Everything I see here is tremendous.
Thank you.
Would you be commuting from Worcester to this job every single day?
So yes, I would be commuting. The commute right now is, with no traffic, about 40 minutes. However, I do live in North Worcester, and I am very familiar with the commute out here. Like I said before, I did do a lot of work out in Lowell. I mean, there were times where I was out here on months at a time on assignment, so I don't mind at all. I'm at a stage in my life where a commute actually is welcomed and not bothered.
I know we're allowed only one vote, but that was something extra that I needed to get off my chest.
Yeah, I understand
Because
completely.
I don't like commuting. I only live up the street. It took me like 45 minutes just to get here this evening, so I can
Worcester
imagine.
is the same. Luckily, this area is not too far off the highway, but I think it was a mile and some change.
And I know that you didn't work for a city or a town or whatever, but this city budget, sometimes we ask, the city manager would ask the city auditor or the city clerk if they could come up with leveraging technology to cut corners, to improve implementing certain things. I was wondering if you could increase productivity and efficiency while reducing waste and increasing accountability. What measures would you put in place to make that happen? Do you have any idea?
So actually, in my role right now, we're looking at ways to increase productivity and efficiencies. And we've actually done a couple case studies on AI, and we're looking to implement some areas where we are now done manually by a physical person can be done through the computer. We have a lockbox that logs all the checks that come in, about 6,300 checks a month that come in. That's all logged manually right now. And I'm working with the IT department to have that more read by the computers instead of being logged by the staff assistant right now. As far as my ideas right now, I guess I would have to dive into the work itself and figure out where the pain points are and what it is that you're looking for. I mean, is it something that you're looking to get rid of manual work? Are you looking for something like data analysis that can maybe see what's going on between the books, see where the discrepancies lie? I guess it would depend is my answer.
Sure. I know it's only one question, but this is a one-word answer. What is the greatest quality that you would bring to this position?
Discipline.
For yourself or your employees?
Both.
Okay, thank you.
I have a high expectation for myself as well as my employees.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Tina.
Oh, hi.
Hi. Thank you for your interest in the position. Thank you for coming here prepared. Obviously, looking at some reports on Lowell, you realize we've gone through quite a 12 to 18 months with the school department, which needs to continue to be looked at, and the auditor will certainly play a large role. So, in my opinion, you have a very strong resume. You obviously have people skills, being the treasurer of the Worcester Youth Soccer Program. As Councilor Elliott can attest to that. My question has to do with Powers and Sullivan that comes in every year and looks at our books as an independent auditor. They, again, this past June indicated that we still had outstanding items that need to be corrected. So again, looking at cash reconciliation procedures, just to go through a couple, purchase order, late invoices, how would you as a city auditor make sure that these outstanding items, which have now been outstanding some since June of 2017, still now, how would you make sure that they get on track to be corrected?
Well, that would be a priority, to be honest. Outstanding items since 2017 on your independent auditor's report is a little concerning, and I'd want to take care of that right away. In my internal audit work and my outside audit work, we definitely had a tracking system, so I can implement that as well, a tracking system where if an issue does come up, something is reported, date, time is recorded as well. That way, something is 30 days outstanding, 60 days outstanding. It is followed up on. Deadlines are big with me. So if it's an independent auditor report, obviously we want to get it done within the next following year. But I'm thinking 6 to 8 months is more my timeline.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tina, thank you for coming in. Given the fact that you have some knowledge or some familiarity with Lowell issues, Lowell school issues in particular, how do you use your decade of experience in terms of accounting and auditing to address that issues? And how would you, what would your first 60-day look like here in the city?
Sure. So my first 60 days would definitely be an evaluation period. I'd be looking into records and seeing things that lie within there, trend analysis, fluctuations, things like that. But I guess in regards to the school, my biggest thing when there's a deficit as large as there is, it comes into an education issue, whereas maybe the people in their roles don't understand how expenses and revenues are impacting them specifically. So my goal, I guess, would be to educate those who touch these books, who touch the financial records, and understand how it impacts them, and then see where, maybe to Rita's point, where we can improve efficiency, where we can maybe things that are great are manual, maybe make them a little bit more automated. I mean, go down the line from beginning to end. I don't think I have an answer per se to what would fix that. It would just definitely be a lot of data gathering in the beginning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. As the auditor, you really have the responsibility to ensure that all departments meet local, state, and federal regulations, ordinances, and all of that. But sometimes we may have a new department head that may just not understand it and not really work towards understanding it. Or some people are just stubborn and want to do things their way. How do you deal with that? Because it's, as the auditor, it really is important about follow-through, and we've had some issues, and it's simple. If we do it right, we can prevent having issues. How would you do it?
I agree with you 100%. If you do it right the first time, you don't have to do it over again and again. And I think that's, I'm glad you actually asked this question, because I think this is one of my strong points. Coming from a CPA firm, coming from an audit background, I'm used to being, quote unquote, the bad guy. I come in, I tell people that they're doing things wrong, I tell them how to fix it, and they don't necessarily like it. Maybe they're stubborn, they've been doing things all along, all this time the same way, and it's been working for them. Maybe it's working for them, but it's not working for the organization or the community as a whole. To my point before when I was talking with Vesna, education is key. If you educate these people and they understand how things impact them down the road, I find that most people are more open to criticism and critiques. If they can see something is going to negatively impact them, they're more likely to be on board with your suggestions and things, so-and-so. So,
Thank you.
thank
very
you.
much.
Hi, Tina.
Hi.
If you are chosen for the job, when would you be available? What's the earliest time frame for you?
So in my current role, I do have a lot of responsibilities. So I would like a 3 to 4 week time frame to really turn around, preferably as much time as possible, but I do understand that there are needs and things like that. So,
Okay.
yes.
The question I have is, how do you see your role in our government's organization here in Lowell, especially with the city manager's office? An example could be a teammate, an advisor, an overseer, or perhaps something else, a gatekeeper. Please, could you please explain that, your answer on that? Please?
Sure. I see this role more as a liaison, more as a someone to go to when they need answers, when they need help. Yes, a teammate, but I want to keep this role more independent and more able to look at things without any sort of bias or anything like that. So yeah, more of a not per se a teammate, but more advisory, I guess.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening and
Good evening.
welcome. So I'm pleased with your resume. I think it checks a lot of the boxes that I'm looking for as a candidate to be the next auditor. I like your responses to some of the other questions, which is nice. Your interest in trend analysis, keeping up-to-date reports, et cetera. But I'm very interested in the investigative aspect and financial reporting when you're at the Department of Revenue. I also appreciate the fact that your passion is with auditing, because that's the basis of this job. I just want to get clear, we have some challenges with the school department, but it's procedural and it's more from the procurement end. And we had a discussion last night about protocols and training and setting deadlines and follow-up. So that is one part of it. On the city side, we have a challenge with cash reconciliation in the treasurer's office, and some of it is staff, but it's a chronic finding in our financial statements. So I'd be eager to hear your response to that. But in large part, there have been some findings, minor, if you will. We've been without an auditor since June. We hired a consultant to close the books. My long-winded statement question is, in your experience, what would be your priority in coming in and addressing the lapse of, and we have staff down there that have done a great job, I have to say, and the acting auditor have kept things going. But how do you bring the group together? How do you jumpstart and get the office, which I think is critically important, this position, and to have an absence for such a length of time is a concern. So with that, walk me through, I don't want to say 60 days, what are your priorities when you come in, hit the ground running? And we need someone sooner rather than later. I think that's very important. I think you have the background. I think you have more significant public accounting experience than any of the candidates, and you're one of my selections, so I'll stop there.
So I don't know if this is available, but I'd love to work with the consultant that you guys have hired, just to sort of pick up where they left off. If that's not an available option, I'd love to start with the staff, meet with them, understand where they feel things are maybe either going wrong, going right, things like that. My priorities, now that you've brought it to my attention, would be those cash reconciliations. Cash is obviously very important, and if you're not reconciling it at this point, that should be one of the easy and done and done type thing. So that would be definitely a priority, definitely cleaning up some of those findings that we talked about. You know, are there any outstanding investigations that have been brought to the auditor's attention? I don't know what's on the logs right now. Do you have a hotline that people call in when they have tips? Sort of just, my start would be making a giant list, and then from there I would assign what priorities need to be handled first, and then obviously discuss them with who need to be discussed with, and see where they want the priorities to be.
Okay, we have a little time, so can I just ask a follow-up? So two things. Tell me your experience with databases. Actually, you know, municipalities run Munis. How do you, your experience with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts? You're an internal auditor, you're a tax auditor. How does that benefit you in this job? That'll be my last question.
So I work a lot with the state. I have been working with the state, so I understand the accounting and the encumbrances and things like that. As far as Munis, that does probably my one concern and my one weakness in this. I don't have the Munis experience that you've probably been looking for, but I am very technology driven. I am very application driven. I know I can get in there and learn that right away. But I definitely think my work with the state and understanding they have MARS, they call it MMARS. I'm sure you're familiar with that as well. It'll all transition over, I feel at least.
Yeah, none of the candidates have Munis. It's not, you know, it's not something that candidates who, and I'm familiar with MARS, and I'm familiar with Munis. So, okay, thank you very much. I appreciate your responses.
Hi, Tina.
Hi.
On your resume, your most recent positions from 2017 to the present are at the University of Massachusetts, and it seems like you were the internal auditor for the president's office for the entire university system.
Yes.
And that then you switched to accounting manager just for the School of Medicine, which is located, I think, in Worcester. How long did you spend in each one of those positions, and why did you transfer from one position to the other?
So I started in an internal audit, and I was there a little over a year before I transitioned to the UMass Medical School. And I didn't necessarily transition. I was more or less recruited to help sort of fix some things that they had going on in their accounting department. They had a need for someone to come in and sort of organize their department and get all the books of record in working order. And then also, I don't know if you saw in my resume, but create a working balance sheet. Their balance sheet in the beginning it rolled up to the UMass Medical School, which rolls up to the UMass President's office. I was charged with making a balance sheet for just Commonwealth Medicine, which is a consulting agency within UMass Medical School.
And so for the time that you were in the president's office, would that have been one fiscal year, about one cycle? And then you're with the School of Medicine now?
Yes, correct. So I started there in, I want to say, January 2017, and I transitioned to the medical school in, I want to say, April 2018, the following year. So it's a year and 4 months about, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All set. Tina, thank you. You now have a minute to bring this to closure.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This has been a wonderful experience, actually. I really hope that you find my skills and qualifications in line with what you're looking for. I like auditing. It's what I like to do. It's what I'm here to do. And I'm here, when I have a job, I put my all into it, and I want to make things better. And that's why you should choose me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
What is Kabari? Kabari?
The next candidate is here. I'm going to go right up front. The green light means it's on. Okay. And then
Ms. Kabari? Is that how you pronounce your last name? Kabari. Well, welcome to today's interview. We hope you enjoyed the process, and thank you for applying for this position. My name is Bill Samaras. I'm the mayor of the city of Lowell. Next to me is
Dave Conway.
Nice to meet you.
Rodney Elliott,
Nice to meet you.
nice to meet you.
Ed Kennedy.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Priya. I'm Rita Mercia.
Nice to meet you too.
Hi, John Leahy, welcome.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Welcome, Jim Milanazzo.
Oh, thank you.
Wel-
Nice to meet you.
Welcome, Vesna Noon.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Again, welcome. What we're asking of the candidates, I mean, we have your biography, but we allow the candidate 2 minutes to basically go over their own biography, because I'm sure there are points that you would like to emphasize that tie in with this particular position. Each of us will ask you one question. However, any council who feels that they require a follow-up will do so, okay?
Yeah.
And then at the close of this interview process, you'll be allowed like a minute to bring closure. Sometimes we don't ask that key question that you'd like to have been asked, and you want to give that answer, or basically you just want to sum up,
Yes.
why you want this particular position.
Okay.
So welcome. So we're going to start first with Mr. Leahy, Councilor Leahy. Oh, I'm sorry. Then we're going to start with your
Okay,
2
sure.
minutes.
So,
Apologize.
first of all, I would like to thank you. I'm sorry. First of all, I would like to thank you all to taking your time and considering my candidature for this position. I started my career, basically I'm from India, and I started my career back in India, as an auditor, tax auditor. So first I stepped into the internship, then I learned there, and then I stepped into the assistant auditor, where I used to manage 4 to 5 auditors with me on rotational basis. So it was a great opportunity for me, where I was presenting auditees I was auditing them, like in terms of tax audit. And then if needed, I used to present my audits to the tax authorities for my audits. So moving forward with that, it was a great pleasure, like it was a great opportunity for me to learn in terms of like how I can be a leader, at the same time how I can be a creative and more critical thinking auditor. But then I never wanted to stop myself to grow, so I decided to pursue for CPA, and that's why I was here for my CPA thing. Along with my CPA, I had an opportunity to work with one Iconsoft private company, where I initially was hired for accounting thing, where I used to manage 3 people in my team. But in a few, I would say like in a couple of months, my founder, my boss, he recognized, like, cause I was keep telling him like some suggestion, like you should segregate these duties, you should be having these controls over here, you should not be giving me cash because I'm finalizing all the accounts, like, you know, those segregation of duties and controls and controls in the system. And then I was, so he's like, he must have thought that I'm good fit for his internal audit thing rather than accounting department, which I did not include in my resume, but I played a internal auditor role over there. Then I have got an opportunity to work with Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. They hired me basically to conduct financial reviews for the educational collaboratives. But after my first educational collaborative review, my CFO, who personally reviewed my performance, and he called me, kind of like informal interview, that he said like, would you be comfortable taking over a charge of like auditing federal and state grants with all over the, like, you know, Massachusetts? And I was like, yes, sure, why not? That would be like great opportunity. And I started talking about like EDGAR, Mass General Law, and federal laws, and UGS, I mean Uniform Grant Guidance, and so on and so forth. So he's like, oh, looks like you are ready to take over the charge of the audit. So that was my like journey till now in my career. I learned a lot through my past experience back in India, but certainly joining Department of Elementary and Secondary Education was a bit diverse experience, and it added a good volume to my career and my experience. So it was like really great opportunity where I'm doing compliance audit in terms of compliance with the federal laws, state laws, Mass General Law, and EDGAR, UGS. But along with that, to combine these audits with the financial reviews to check like if internal control system is in place, if auditees have proper spending, what they have budgeted, they have proper spending. Along with that, I'm also in charge of reviewing all the single audits. So when I do single audits, I first review them, and I assign those single audits to my colleagues, I would say, because we are indirectly kind of, I'm supervising their work, because my title is not supervising them, but as I'm in charge to supervise single audits, so I'm kind of like assigning them work, and I'm supervising their work, how they are following up with the single audits, getting responses from the auditees in terms of the findings, and following up on them, like how they are so far in terms of mitigation those findings. So that's why my role is been now. But now pretty soon my director wants me to take over the charge of end of year report as well, because he saw my performance. He's really pleased with my performance and my learning skills and my set of skill of communication with the auditees. So pretty soon I will be taking over of the end of year report reviews as well, and I'm in the process of developing the policies and procedures for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Leahy?
Thank you. Thank you for coming in. Welcome to the city of Lowell. So right now you live in Charlestown,
Yes.
so it's not a bad commute,
No, not at all.
opposite traffic. So could you just tell us what drew you to applying for the job and what, I think you went through your skill set, so that's good. You seem to have a very focused and very dedicated to your job. So what drew you to this position to apply for it?
So actually, whenever, whenever I used to follow up with the auditees, I'm sorry, I cannot, because as a part of Daisy auditor, I cannot really cross that line at this point. But I'll give you, I will certainly make sure that I'll give you a brief idea about it. So whenever I talk to my auditees in terms of audit findings, let it be single audit, let it be independent auditor's opinion. So, of course, being an auditor, it's always I always try to reach them and give them you should not be doing this, you should be doing that way. How about you, these policies, procedures looks good, but how about you keep ongoing monitoring, ongoing checks and balance, rather than having quarterly or monthly or semi-monthly or maybe annually. Rather than that, how about you would do ongoing basis, ongoing checks and balances. And I remember one of my auditees commented me that you are auditor, it's your job to give us recommendation, but you don't know how much it's tough on our part to implement those recommendations. And at that point, the thought just struck, went my mind, yeah, I always played a role of auditor. I've never been in the shoes of auditee, so maybe they might have a point. And when I saw this job optic, that thought again come to my mind, I think this is a great opportunity. I won't say that I'm not aware of the audit history over here, which I will not discuss that, but I think this is a great opportunity for me, being an auditor, to keep my skill set, my audit experience on the table, to pull good practices from past history, but to learn from the past, where we missed, what kind of controls we need to keep more transparency and to have more control environment here, so that people can have more confidence in our financial system. And I feel this is a great opportunity for me to really put my skill set to develop such a team that can have transparency in the system, and which can help. If I can be a part of to create a new history for the city of Lowell, that would be really success on my part, to represent my skill sets and my experience over here.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, hello, Priya. My name is Rita Mercia.
Nice to meet you again.
Nice to meet you. Now, if you got this position and we called you, how soon could you start this position?
As I always, don't take me otherwise, but I always wanted to keep my words, my professional ethics. So if I committed to something, for any reason, I don't want to break my own commitments, because I think my goodwill is what makes me as a professional auditor. So at this point, and in my current job, I do have some commitments that can be taken care of by, I would say, end of November, but I would give it 1 more month just to settle down everything and to pass the process, because I don't want to leave them in the middle of and just leave my job. So I would want to make sure that I will pass all my stuff to them in proper protocol, and they will be comfortable.
So what's the answer?
Pretty much by New Year, new start. That can be my answer.
What's your answer now?
New year, new start, like from January.
January?
Yes,
Okay, January.
yep,
So when I ask you these questions, just say either yes or no.
Okay.
You don't have to go into this.
okay,
Are you familiar with vendor contracts?
yes,
Payroll supervision? Reconciliation of receivables and cash?
yes,
Capital project planning with departments?
yes,
Are you familiar with preparation of a Schedule A?
not really,
Not really. Are you multiple reports for the Department of Revenue?
yes,
Schedules of transfers?
no,
Free cash reports and calculations? If I were to ask you what is the greatest quality you bring to this job, what would it be in one word?
it would be my present, the Department of Elementary experience and education experience over here, along with my past supervisory experience, which combine which can help a H2O combination, like water, which always helps to nourish a life. That's what my combination will be, my past experience, my qualification, along with my present experience with Department of Education, working with the federal grants, state grants, working with compliance requirements, and that will be, I think, a great opportunity over here, which can certainly work as an H2O formula, and certainly my personal skill set of analyzing risk areas, critical thinking, how we can mitigate the risk areas by implementing policies and procedures in place, communication with key personnel or auditors or maybe departments to get the technical assistance from them. So on constant learning and my enthusiasm, this can add as a sprinkle on my qualification, I guess.
I have the urge to say namaste.
Oh, namaste,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Hi, Priya, good evening.
Good evening,
Thank you again for your interest in the position.
my pleasure.
We have a company, Powers and Sullivan, that actually do our independent audit on an annual basis. And as of June 30th of 2018, we had some outstanding items from June 30th of 2017. Some of them have been corrected, but I understand that some are still outstanding today. Things like cash reconciliation, some of our federal grants. My question is, how would you deal with some of these outstanding audit items? Again, being an auditor, you probably have actually found audit findings when you go into the Mass, secondary and elementary education.
Yep.
And I guess a follow-up question, does the Mass Department use governmental accounting standards similar to what the
Yes,
city?
because
Okay.
as we all work with LEAs, not-for-profit organization.
yeah.
So it's pretty much government accounting, but it's not only restricted to government accounting, because sometimes we do follow the gap as well, because some audits are not applicable to government accounting, but they are applicable to GAAP. So, but still they are receiving federal grants and state grants from Department of Elementary as a pass-through money. So certainly I do have a good working experience with the GAAP and GASB as well.
Right, okay.
Yep.
How would you prioritize these outstanding issues that have gone on now over 2 fiscal years?
So if it comes to prioritize something, I would start with in my past experience, I always started with reviewing prior year auditor's report. So first of all, I would always would like to review the auditor's report, what they are saying, what their recommendations, what their findings. I certainly will go forward and talk to key personnel and related employees who are related financially, to the finance, for example, payroll or HR, to look into the policies and procedures to see if when the policies and procedures been updated and how that practically is implemented in the system. Along with that, I would always like to have a free communication with key personnel who are doing this, who are managing the grants, who are in compliance, to see like what can make us to go with the compliance, to utilize our resources in more efficient manner, and at the same time we can apply for more grants to be in compliance so that we can have more resources in this city in order to have more more advancement for the city, because grants federal always want us to spend, and if they can give us spending, why not to use their spending? So that's always been will be my step. Along with that, I would always like to have being an auditor, I always interviewed people, but not I don't want to walk in with with that attitude, oh, I'm an auditor and you have to do whatever I'm saying. I don't like that attitude. I would say, let's sit, let's talk to each other, and let's figure it out what we need to do because everybody has the same motive. Everybody wants us here to keep our city more progressive order. So let's I would say that let's sit together and let's identify the risk areas, and let's see how our policies and procedures are not meeting to mitigate the controls over those risk areas, and what we need to develop new controls in our system. And on top of that, I'm more, I like to give more surprise checks. Okay. So it's I might just appear and say, okay, let's run through the process, how PO system is going, how approval system is going, how warrants are being approved. And not only that, I would always believe in doing the sampling. So statistical sampling, sometimes I just do random sampling. I might touch the penny expenditure, oh, this is just 1 penny, what is it? Mm-hmm. Let me check. Mm-hmm. So I try to use my professional judgment to make sure that I try to cover more and more wider scope areas, okay, which can be more risky areas. Like, for example, cash can be more risky, credit cards. The PO system sometimes can be riskier. So I always believe in ongoing checks and balances and review.
Okay, great.
I hope I answered your question.
Thank you.
Thank you, Priya. Welcome. I noticed that you have over a decade of accounting and auditing experience, right? So how would you apply that experience to the work required here, and what would your first 60-day look like here? So
as I was talking about it, I always like to start with studying about the prior year's auditor's report. Unless and until I know what is a history in detail, I cannot move forward to fix that if there is any deficiency. So first, if we go to the doctor, if they ask us, what are your symptoms? Unless and until I would give them my symptoms, they would not diagnose what happened to me. So that's the same logic I apply in my audits. Unless and until I would know what is a deficiency, where is not transparency, why there is overspending from the budget, why there is no tracking of the budget in terms of spending, budget with the spending, why there are so many repeated findings year after year. So unless and until I so first of all, I would like to study that. Along with that, my next step will be to meeting with the people I will be working with, key personnel, finance manager, business manager, school department manager, maybe HR manager if required, maybe grant manager if that is also required for in terms of in compliance thing, or if to review how they are managing their process. And along with that, I believe I would be really greatly interested to review the policies and procedures in place. Certainly, I would see that if those policies and procedures being revised, how often they are revised, how they are practically being implemented in the system, and if it is working properly with the system. Because sometimes you might have great policies and procedures, but it may not be practically applicable, and that's their system falls apart. And sometimes you do not realize, because sometimes you would say, oh, we do have policies for PO, then why do you require to go through the PO system? But sometimes the picture might be different, that for any reason, somebody may not skipping that PO line and just doing something which might be error, which may not be good for the health of the system. So that needs to be diagnosed. So, and this cannot be one-time job. This is require really ongoing job. So that would be that's how I will proceed step by step. And certainly I would love to talk to independent auditors to have their expertise, to ask them questions, to take them their knowledge as well, to use their knowledge for our, to fix our system or to create more control in our system. So, and along with that, when I always like being an auditor to give more brainstorming and critical thinking. So certainly I would like to talk to key personnel and have their ideas, what they do think, and how I can keep because in my past experience, it happened when I talk to people being friendly, that's how I came up with some deficiency. Oh, yeah, we do have PO policy, but sometimes, we just spend cash and we just get reimbursed. So, okay, so what is the policy for that? You are just getting reimbursed for who is doing oversight on you and stuff like that. So that's how I will proceed step by step.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Thank you.
Thank you. The one thing, though, as the auditor, someone framed it, you are the gatekeeper for everything that goes on financially in this city, and we need your assistance. So you have the responsibility to ensure that every department follows the local, state, and federal ordinances and regulations. But sometimes some people may just not understand what they're supposed to do, and others just want to do it their way, and that's it.
Yeah.
And sometimes the outcomes are not what is good for the city.
True.
Okay? So as the gatekeeper, as the person responsible ensuring that all of this takes place, I mean, how do you see yourself working with these department leaders?
So this is not unusual scenario in my past experience, because I have been experienced that thing, a lot of auditees, when we do send recommendation, send us your corrective action plan, what you are planning to mitigate your findings, and when we issue non-compliance thing, that you are not in compliance with ABC thing, and you need to make sure that you want to be in compliance. So a lot of time auditees really do not reply me my emails, they might do not answer my calls. So being in my position, I use my professional judgment, and I try to pursue them really in friendly manner. But if, I see that this is not going to work, they are not responding me at all. So I would always talk to my CFO and explain him what's going on, what is the situation, and please, I need your backup to talk to those auditors to get things done. And certainly when my CFO talks to them, of course it's my CFO, so they cannot just avoid him. But when he talks to them, then certainly I make sure that I'm getting my stuff from them, whatever I required as an auditor, to make sure that they are filing corrective action plans. But I do not stop here, because being in the education system, I would like to make sure that these findings do not repeat again. So I might assess them they might be my top priority in risk assessment, and I might again follow up with them on some some maybe quarterly or maybe 6 months, because I cannot really do really ongoing basis, being an outsider. But I try to be on top of them, like, to make sure that what's coming up in their next process, and if they have implemented their policies and procedure, what they have submitted me, like as an auditor, what they are saying, okay, we will do this, this, this. So I think it's my duty to make sure that they are really doing what they are saying. So I do not stop only having the corrective action plan from the auditors. I always make sure that I'm again following up. So it may be in terms of like I'm visiting them personally, interviewing them again to check the focused areas where their findings and where they have submitted their corrective action plan. So I might go out, but certainly, as I said, as I'm not an employee, so it gives me a little restrictions over there to follow up with them, but still I take my best chance to, like, my best efforts to follow up with their corrective action plan and to see if they are really doing what they are saying that they will be doing.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Priya.
Hello.
How do you see your role in our government's organization here in Lowell, especially with the city manager's office? An example could be a teammate, an advisor, an overseer, or something else. Could you elaborate on that, please?
So I believe when I'm working with some department or like it can be anything that affects the financially. Anyway, like any activity will affect the financially on the city. So if I'm working with any department, certainly as I said, I don't want to walk that I know everything and I'm a perfect person. I always want to walk with, because I believe every person has a skill set, different skill set. So it's always great chance to learn something from them and to give some my skill sets to them and to combine the best skill set for control environment. If it might comes to that I'm meeting some, let's say, because even in my past experience, whenever I used to go to audits, I would say, I would ask them, can you please give me so-and-so report for review? Can you please, I will send you some selection. Can you please pull out those invoices? I would like to go through them. So I would certainly do the risk assessment. I would talk to the personnel. And I want to create that trust within the team that here we are together to progress together, to grow together. So let's create, because there might be situation that some person may say, I have more experience than what you have, so who are you telling me I cannot do this or I cannot do that? So in that case, I would say I respect your experience, but sometimes it's good to learn new things, and how about we try to talk to each other and have a such cooperative environment. But at the same time, I would like to keep me as an auditor, my integrity and my independence with this panel. So I would make sure that I'm keeping that border line. And certainly, how I would pursue in any situation, I would certainly communicate with this panel that this is what I will be working, and this is what my thought process is. If you have any suggestion, it's always welcome. It will always add my, my skills. And after doing my communicating with that department or whatever steps I take, I certainly would give you in writing formal report that this is what I was working, this is what I've met with this department, and this is what I found, and this is what I think should be done to implement, maybe to revise the policies and procedures, or to create new control environment for certain areas, or that can be anything. So I will certainly report formally to this panel. So that's what my action would be.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Priya. So in your work experience, you note review single audit of school districts, nonprofit organizations, education collaboratives. Can you describe to me an audit that you conducted in any one of those particular organizations, and maybe an example of a finding or two that resulted from those audits?
So, as I mentioned that to avoid the influential words from my present career, from my present job on this candidature, and to avoid conflict of interest, I may not take a name of auditors.
That's fine. I don't need a name, just...
Yeah, so, but in generally, I've seen very common findings like material weakness in nutrition grants, material weakness in written policies and procedures over compliance with the federal grants, non-reporting of state grants, state grant financial reports, or there are material internal control weaknesses that is like normally I have seen give me a chance. So there are like sometimes it again like have a question cause, non-compliance with some grant requirements cause like question cause which some auditors has to pay back. So that is also part of auditor's report. So basically I have seen that auditors touches like major areas, but sometimes they may not be able to due to any limited scope of their duty or limited time. Due to any reason, they may not be able to touch in detail what's going on with the compliance and grants financial. So that's where like me as an auditor comes the role in play, that I go in detail to check the compliance along with the fiscal financial spending to make sure that what they have budgeted, they are spending the same in the same line item. And if this, like if auditor's report is giving me so much, that there is a material weaknesses normally, which I have seen. So I always try to follow up, like to check what kind of policies and procedures do they have. And I always in that case, I think interviewing or talking to the key personnel always help me to understand what they are doing really. Because they says like, oh, we have these policies and procedure and we never revised like since 2003 or 2013. So that's where you come to know like, okay, it's just on the document, it's not in the practical. So in that case, I might assess them on the higher risk, and I may go there and check out their grants, like maybe all possible grants, to review their compliance and financial piece. So here, my answer to your question would be more like, if these common weaknesses is occurring around me, so I'm already started thinking what can be the best practices. And few auditors do have best practices. And that gives me a good brainstorming, like, okay, if these best practices can be implemented here, so they might be in good shape. But that cannot be always the case because every work environment is different. So here, as an auditor, I need to check that how I can fit some of best practices in this work environment. So that's kind of challenging for me.
That's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
I'm the last one, so you're getting near the end. On your resume, you mentioned, you put down as your work experience, your current work experience as a senior auditor.
Yes.
And in the cover letter, you describe it as being a supervisory auditor.
Yeah.
And also on your resume, you talked about when you worked at Ironsoft that you had supervisory experience. So in your present position, whether it's a supervisory auditor or senior auditor, do you supervise people now in your position? And if you do, how many? And if you don't, can you tell us about a time in your work experience when you did supervise a team of people?
Yeah, sure. So right now in my supervisory auditor, so it's not directly somebody's working with me, like, and I'm supervising them directly, but indirectly, I'm working with different units. So if I'm working with the collaborative, so I'm working internal department collaborative units, and I'm assigning some task to them for compliance thing, like, please, I'm assigning ABC areas to you because I'm conducting financial and compliance review for XYZ collaborative. So I'm assigning something to you, I'm doing some stuff to me, and I was assigning, even if it was my colleagues, but department basically hired me for collaborative. So I was the leading the audit. So the protocol is whoever leads the audit would assign the task, whoever working with them, and they are responsible for entry meeting, exit meeting, giving recommendation, oversight of the whatever assigned to oversight those work, and like close the report and communicate with the key personnel, to the auditees, to department, and to my CFO as well, like, internal units as well. So in that matter, in that terms, I would say it's indirectly I'm kind of leading these people. You can say tentatively 5 people, I would say, that I'm leading internally in different unit department and my personal, my unit department. In my earlier job, when I was working as a tax auditor, I mentioned in my earlier answer that I had a great opportunity to work with 4 to 5 approximately auditors under me on rotational basis. So rotational basis means they would change my team of auditors every 1.5 years. After 1.5 years, I will have new team of auditors. That might be 4 or 5 depending on, like, depending on the audit project or audit is need. So I do have a good supervising skill from past experience, from my tax auditor experience. Then when I moved to Iconsoft, there I used to manage 3 people actually, accounts payable, accounts receivable, and one person was just clerical who used to collect the cash and deposit the cash. So that I used to manage them and I used to corroborate with the independent auditors, CPAs, when they were doing the audits of Iconsoft. So I used to, communicate. I was the key person who was dealing with those CPAs. And in my current position, as I mentioned, it's not directly I'm supervising anybody, but it's indirectly, as I'm leading the audit, pretty much I'm responsible for those stuff. And I'm responsible to maintain my work papers. If somebody have, if auditors comes into department, so it would be and if those audits were done by me, I will be responsible to present those stuff to my auditors. So that's how we work.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming to this interview process. You really have 1 minute to sum up anything you'd like to say before you leave.
Yeah, I would like to thank you for all your time. And just to sum up this, as I mentioned, that H2O, water, always nourish the lives. That's how my past supervisory experience, along with my present, my skill set, my qualification, and the big bonus for me is like experience from Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, working with federal and state grants, that will bring like great benefit on this table for the city of Lowell. Along with these qualities and qualification, of course, my interpersonal qualification, my interpersonal personality of being an auditor, to analyze things, to risk assessment, to critical think, and always do brainstorming how we can improve our system, how we can make system more transparent so that people have more confidence in us, and how we can, along with this transparency, how we can utilize our resources in best possible manner to grow. So that is what I will be bringing on this table. And I will be certainly, being in Department of Education, I do value education. So I certainly think that my role, my part my part to help this system to create a new history. Like, may not be flawless. There might be something here and there, like, because nobody's 100% perfect, but my contribution to create more transparent and more public interest history for city of Lowell will give a good opportunity for our, for kids who are the future of the Lowell. And certainly that's where I think is more accomplishment. Everybody would want them to grow and success, and because that will affect our success indirectly. So that's how I would sum up my interviewer's thing. Thank you
very much. Thank you. We've complete, yes.
Mary's gone, but I want to take an opportunity to thank Mary for, Ms. Gallery for all her effort in doing this. We're going on 5 months now. I'm prepared. We've been interviewing many candidates, and tonight we had some good candidates as well. And Mr. Mayor, I'm prepared to vote on this tonight. We've interviewed one candidate 3 times, and I think the office has been absent of a permanent replacement. So I'd like to make a motion that by roll call that we vote for the candidate of our choice this evening.
Second.
Roll call.
Counsel Leahy.
Tina Masiello.
Counsel Mercia.
Tina Masiello.
Counsel Milanazza.
Tina Masiello.
Counsel New.
Kara McSwagan.
Mayor Samaras.
Tina Masiello.
Who was it? Mayor? I didn't catch it.
Tina
Masiello.
Thank you. Counsel Searle. Counsel Conway.
Tina Masiello.
Counsel Elliott.
Tina Masiello.
Counsel Kennedy.
Karen McSwigan.
Tina Masiello has sufficient votes.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that that you meet with or contact Tina Masiello and negotiate terms of the contract. I believe, Mr. Clerk, do we have to vote on a 3-year appointment, or by virtue of this vote, is that a 3-year appointment?
I believe it's a 3-year appointment as a matter of statute. So I don't think it's necessary to vote for a 3-year appointment.
Okay, good. Well, I'd make that motion that the mayor work with Ms. Callery to establish terms and agreement of her employment.
We have a second on that?
Yes, second.
Regarding starting date, any concerns with the starting dates?
As soon as you can.
Any other issues that you want to raise?
Could I take this opportunity to thank Mary Callery for all her hard work? She's truly dedicated to her department, to her profession. It's not an easy thing. She came here time and time again to offer her services and be quite efficient. And without her, I don't know where I would have been, but she's truly amazing. So.
No, she's addressed every issue that we've asked.
Yeah, she did. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Properly. So thank you, Mary. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
And as well as we forgot Karen O'Byrne in the auditor's office that took over all this time. I want to thank her publicly as well. I forgot. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
I think we should probably send her a letter of
Yeah,
thanks.
we really should.
Yeah, that's a good
We
point,
put it in
Mr.
a
Mayor.
file. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Motion to adjourn, if we have it.
It was best.